Level 1. The first million. You are 23, sitting at a kitchen table that still has a burn mark near the edge from a pan your mother left there years ago. Your laptop is open, your bank account is almost empty, and you have spent the entire night trying to make something work that nobody else seems to understand. You are not thinking about becoming a billionaire. You just want enough money that one unexpected expense doesn't ruin your month. You take a cheap bus across town to meet your first potential customer. Your shoes are slightly wet from the rain, and you keep checking your phone because you are afraid they might cancel. When they finally arrive, they barely look at you. You explain your idea anyway. They say no. Then another person says no. Then another. But eventually, someone says yes. The first payment is small, embarrassingly small, considering how many hours you spent earning it. Still, you stare at the notification for several seconds. You made money from something you created. That feeling is dangerous. Because now you know it is possible. You start working later. You stop going out. You tell your friends you will join them next weekend, then the weekend after that. Your mother asks why you are always tired. You say you're busy. What you don't say is that you have discovered a new kind of hunger. And at this stage, you still believe money will eventually satisfy it. Level 2. The builder. 2 years later, your apartment looks less like a home and more like a place where you happen to sleep. There are boxes beside the desk, takeout containers in the trash, 2 monitors running through the night. Your calendar is filled with meetings, deadlines, and names you barely remember. The business is finally making real money. You hire your first employees. The first time someone calls you their boss, you feel proud. Then you realize what that word actually means. Their rent depends partly on your decisions. Their children don't care about your quarterly numbers. Their mortgages don't care that a customer suddenly disappeared. If the company fails, you don't simply lose your dream. Other people lose their salaries. So you become more careful. You begin answering emails while brushing your teeth. You check sales numbers during dinner. You wake up at 3:17 in the morning because you suddenly remembered something that could go wrong. Your girlfriend tells you that you are physically present, but mentally somewhere else. You promise to change. For a week, you do. Then the company grows again, and growth becomes the excuse for everything. You tell yourself this is temporary. Almost every ambitious person tells themselves the same thing. Level 3. The first taste of power. By your early 30s, the numbers have become large enough that ordinary money stops feeling real. You walk into a meeting where everyone already knows your name. Nobody is asking whether your company will survive anymore. They're asking how large it can become. Investors want meetings. Banks return your calls immediately. People who ignored your emails 3 years ago suddenly have assistants contacting your assistant. Your apartment has changed too. You live somewhere with security downstairs and a view that would have seemed impossible when you were taking the bus to meetings. The first time you see the price of the house you are considering, you laugh. Not because it is funny, because you remember when that amount represented an entire lifetime of work. For a few weeks, you enjoy everything. The kitchen is enormous. The bedroom is quiet. The car is faster than anything you have ever driven. Then something strange happens. You stop noticing it. The house becomes normal. The car becomes transportation. The expensive restaurant becomes somewhere you eat because you are nearby. Your brain adapts faster than your bank account can grow, and that is when wealth begins changing you in a way you don't notice. You no longer ask, "Can I afford this?" You ask, "Do I want it?" The difference sounds small. It isn't. Level 4. The deal maker. Now your job is no longer building the product. Your job is making decisions. You spend your mornings in conference rooms and your evenings on flights. You have lawyers, accountants, executives, consultants, assistants, and people whose entire careers involve helping you decide what to do with your money. One afternoon, you are presented with an acquisition. The company employs hundreds of people. The numbers make sense. The deal could increase your wealth dramatically. But keeping the entire team would make the acquisition far less profitable. Someone has to tell you what that means. You sit quietly while an executive explains the restructuring plan. 300 positions. The room becomes uncomfortable. You ask how much money the company saves. They give you the number. You approve the deal. That night, you are in a hotel room on the other side of the country. You order room service. You barely touch it. You know you didn't personally fire 300 people. You also know they will lose their jobs because you signed one document. This is one of the first things nobody tells you about extreme wealth. At a certain point, your decisions stop affecting only your own life. Your mistakes become expensive for other people. Your victories do too. And you begin discovering that power feels different when you understand its consequences. Level 5. The Billionaire. The number finally appears on paper. $1 billion. You look at it longer than you expected. There is no music, no explosion of happiness, no moment where the universe suddenly feels different. You are sitting in an office while an advisor explains your assets, ownership percentages, investments, and liabilities. You have officially crossed a number that most people will never come close to, and you feel strangely tired. Your younger self would have imagined this moment differently. You would have pictured freedom. Instead, you have more meetings, more security, more people asking for money, more people asking for favors, more people telling you that they have always believed in you. Your phone never really stops. Some messages are from people who need something, some are from people who want something, and some are from people who genuinely care about you. The problem is that you no longer know which is which. You begin testing people without meaning to. You wonder whether someone would still invite you to dinner if they knew you were worth nothing. You wonder whether your friends love you or the life that surrounds you. You have reached the number you once thought would end insecurity. Instead, it creates a more sophisticated version of it. Level 6. The Fortress. By now, wealth has changed your physical life. You don't simply travel, you move through private terminals. You don't simply go to restaurants. You enter rooms that were prepared before you arrived. You don't simply buy a house. You buy distance from everyone else. Your security team knows your schedule better than some members of your family. Your children grow up surrounded by things that were unimaginable to you. And this creates another problem. You want to give them everything you never had. But you also worry that giving them everything will prevent them from developing what made you successful. So you become strict, then guilty about being strict, then generous, then worried that you are being too generous. Your oldest child asks you one evening why you can't just come to the school event like the other parents. You have an important meeting. You tell them you will try. You don't make it. The next morning, you see a photograph on your phone. Your child is standing on a stage. You weren't there. You can buy almost anything now, except the hours you already spent somewhere else. Level 7. The Empire. Your company is no longer just a company. It is an ecosystem. Thousands of people work beneath decisions that eventually reach your desk. You have enough influence to change markets. A single sentence from you can move a stock price. A rumor about what you might buy can create headlines. Politicians want meetings. Founders want investments. Universities want donations. Charities want your name on buildings. Your name has become an asset, and that means your name is no longer entirely yours. One morning, you make an offhand comment during an interview. By afternoon, it has been quoted across the internet. Your legal team calls. Your communications team calls. Your board wants to discuss it. You spend the rest of the day explaining what you meant. You begin speaking more carefully. Then you notice something disturbing. The more powerful you become, the less honestly you can speak. Everyone is listening for implications. Everyone wants to know what you might do next. Eventually, silence becomes safer than honesty, and you begin missing the version of yourself who could say whatever he wanted without moving markets. Level 8. The Cost of Winning. You are now wealthy enough that losing money does not frighten you the way it once did. Losing control does. A major investment begins collapsing. The numbers are enormous. Your advisors tell you that you can absorb the loss, but the company employs thousands of people. You spend weeks in meetings. You stop sleeping properly. You start checking your phone before your feet touch the floor in the morning. The old version of you would have been terrified by losing $1 million. The new version of you is terrified by something much larger. What if you are wrong? Not financially, personally. What if the decisions that made you successful are the same decisions that eventually destroy what you built? You start noticing other things too. Friends have moved away. Some relationships ended quietly. People who knew you before the money have become rare. You have an entire calendar managed by professionals, yet there are evenings when you sit alone in a house large enough to contain several families. You walk past rooms nobody uses. You hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Your phone is on the table. There are 12 unread messages. And for once, you don't answer any of them. You just sit there. Level 9. The man behind the number. You are in your 50s now. Your wealth has become so large that the number itself has almost stopped meaning anything. You have achieved the thing you thought you wanted, and somewhere along the way, the goal disappeared. You begin looking backward. You remember the apartment, the cheap meals, the first customer, the first employee, the first time someone called you successful. You remember believing that once you had enough money, you would finally have time. Instead, money multiplied your options until choosing became its own form of exhaustion. You can live anywhere, work anywhere, buy almost anything, help almost anyone. But every decision creates another question. Should you keep expanding? Sell? Give more away? Retire? Stay involved? What happens to the company without you? What happens to your family if you disappear into work again? One evening, you visit your old neighborhood. The building where you once lived looks smaller than you remember. You stand outside for a few minutes. Nobody recognizes you, and strangely, that feels good. For the first time in years, you are just another person standing on a sidewalk. No assistant, no security detail, no cameras, no one asking for anything, just you. And you realize that the person who wanted billions was never really trying to buy luxury. You were trying to buy safety. You wanted to stop being afraid. But level 10. What remains? You are older now. You have begun giving pieces of the empire away. Some assets go to your children. Some go to foundations. Some are sold. Some are simply left behind. Your calendar is finally becoming empty. At first, you don't know what to do with the empty space. You wake up at 7. There is nowhere you have to be. No board meeting, no investor call, no flight, no emergency. You make coffee yourself. It tastes worse than the coffee your staff used to prepare. You drink it anyway. On your desk is an old photograph. You are young in it. You are standing beside that first cheap laptop, smiling because you have just received your first meaningful payment. You had almost nothing, but you believed everything was still possible. You look at the photograph for a long time. The strange thing about becoming extraordinarily wealthy is that people assume the journey is about accumulating more. More money, more influence, more houses, more companies, more power. But eventually, the numbers become so large that they stop being the story. The story becomes what those numbers required from you. The mornings you missed, the relationships you neglected, the decisions other people had to live with, the parts of yourself you traded away without noticing. And maybe the greatest cost was not that money changed you. It was that money gave you enough freedom to discover which parts of yourself had already changed. You once believed the finish line was a number. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion. Then you reached it, and there was no finish line. Only another morning, another decision, another quiet room, another chance to decide what kind of person you wanted to be when nobody was watching. You walk outside. The air is cool. For once, your phone stays in your pocket. Across the street, a young man is sitting in a tiny apartment, staring at an old laptop under a cheap desk lamp. He is working late. He is broke. He is frustrated. And he has absolutely no idea what the next 20 years will cost him. You recognize the look on his face immediately. You have seen it before. You once had it too. And for the first time in a very long time, you don't feel jealous of what he might become. You feel sorry for the things he may believe he needs to become. Because the hardest lesson about becoming a billionaire was never learning how to make $1 billion. It was learning that there are some things money can multiply, some things it can protect, and some things it can never give back.